Okay, now we're going to talk about linear equations and solving equations with one variable in one side. First, I want to take this moment to congratulate you for making it this far in your algebra class. This is probably where we will spend most of the time, as it is the true foundation of algebra. Before we move forward, I want to go ahead and clarify a few terms. So let's go ahead and look at this equation. So we have 11 equal 2x plus 5. I want to start by breaking down what every single thing means. Let's start with this number, these numbers right here. These numbers are called constants. Our constants are known numbers, comma, or semicolon. They will not, here's the key word, not change based in context. That I call a constant. You may be draw to conclude that this little number right here is a constant. However, it is not. This is called a coefficient. Coefficient. It is also a term that you will hear in chemistry, and you probably will hear about it starting 8th grade. Sorry about that. 8th grade, when you learn to balance equations. And the coefficient is a number that is multiplying or dividing a variable. So that is a coefficient. Last but not least, this little guy's right here, and that is known as a variable. And a variable is a letter that represents an unknown number, semicolon. It changes based on the context. Take a minute, known number, and look at the opposite, unknown number. So they are opposite. They are opposite. One is known and one is unknown. Now, my last piece of information are the signs, symbols. Those symbols, I call them my operator. And to use non-linguistic representation, it can be an addition, it can be subtraction, it can be multiplication, it can be division, well, I missed one more symbol for division, your fraction. Let's say A divided by B. Okay. So let's say now that we have these 4 terms in place, let's go ahead and try to solve this equation in question. So let's go ahead and rewrite it over here. So I have 11 equal 2x plus 5. So one thing that has worked for me in the past is to color code my variables in my constants. I'm going to go ahead and stick with my colors from previously. And look how over here I included the operator, coded the operator. In here it's assigned to. Keep track of signs. Keep tally of signs. Now, I want to make sure that I have my constants and my variables in one side. On this case, I'm going to go ahead and have my constants here. I'm going to go ahead and trace a line over. I'm going to call this my constant. In my variables. I usually trace a double line here. I'm going to go ahead and do that in a different color so that we can see a difference. And I'll explain to you why. So that column will be always for equal signs. And I want you to pay attention that I first want to look at the reciprocal, the opposite, or the inverse of something. So I'm going to go ahead and start working with my constants, with my 5 and my 11. In order to move this 5 to this side, I have to subtract 5 on both sides. I have to subtract the reciprocal. So minus 5, I'm going to go ahead and line them up. Minus 5 and minus 5. And this is called the reciprocal. Or opposite. Not opposite. Let's go ahead and use a more mathematical term. You might hear Mr. Outram talk about the inverse. But to sound like a true mathematician, you want to use reciprocal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and trace the line over. I'm going to rewrite my equation. And I'm going to start with these two right here. Let's do that in a different color so you can see a difference. Okay, and these two right here. So minus 5 plus 11, that equals 6. And pay attention that plus 5 minus 5 equals 0. By design, they're meant to cancel one another. Equal. Now I talk about the green bars right here. It's just a visual way for me to say, oh, that's where my equal sign will always go. And I bring down my coefficient in variable. 2x. And keep in mind that there is an operator in there. It's a multiplication. This is telling me that two x's are multiplying. That's the same thing as this. X times x equals 2x. That's what that means. Now I'm going to use the reciprocal of 2, which is times 1/2 times 1/2. Or you can simply say that you want to divide by 2 both sides. Keep in mind, please keep in mind this. Whatever you do in one side, you have to do it on the other side to keep everything balanced. Always balance. Always balance. Okay, let's go ahead and solve this. And 1/2 times 3 times 6 equals 3. And my 2's over here will cancel, because 2 divided by 2 equals 1. And 1 times x equals x. Therefore, x equals to 3. At this point, I can say that I am about 75% complete with this task. I do want you to test your answers. What does that mean? I'm going to go back to my original equation, and I'm going to replace. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. 11 equals 2. Let's do it in a nice little color so we can see that difference. Let's use a different color, something that we haven't used. Purple. Okay, let's see, that's a 3 plus 5. So 11 distribute, that is 6 plus 5. So 11 equals 11, and that checks. So that's an equality. And now you are finished. Always double check your answers.